Morning.
Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, fellas. How are you?
Good morning. Firstly, just to quickly say, this is our very first podcast as two peas in the podcast.
Yes.
We've never interviewed anyone in our lives. And you're probably going to get a feel of that. And Matt Hoy, the singer Matt Hoy, who's been in the news recently for having another number one on the Heritage chart. And
well
also,
done, mate. Very good.
Well done, congratulations. We'll playing a bit of that. And also for his expulsion from the band UB40. We'll touch on that as well.
Yeah.
So this is our debut. So we'd like to first of all thank Matt for being our
guinea pig,
our lab rat.
It's my absolute pleasure.
So what we'll do. So first of all, Matt, I'll tell you what. Just in case there's anyone on here who's been living under a rock or in lockdown forever. Yeah. Tell us a little bit. I know you were obviously singing with UB40. What were you doing before that, and how did you get into that?
Yeah,
various things musically, vocally. I was a session musician for numerous artists. I used to write as well for other artists. But yeah, I mean, really touring and gigging was mainly what I've done my whole career.
Right, okay.
And then I happened upon to get a call from my agent at the time in 2010 saying that Ali Campbell was looking for a singer, a vocalist, a backing singer to be with him in his new outfit that he was, because I think he'd left the original outfit to go solo, I think initially. I don't think it panned out the way it wanted it to, the solo thing. And then Astro came and joined the outfit. I think it was 2014, and that's when he started calling it UB40, featuring Ali and Astro and Mickey Virtue at that point as well, because he was
right. So where was Astro before that?
He stayed with the original lineup.
Oh, I see. Okay. Right.
So I think what actually happened that Ali had beef with the management, the then management, with the original lineup over money or finances or something or other. So he basically said, well, unless it gets resolved, I'm leaving the outfit, and that's what he did. I think there was I think he was pushing to go solo himself anyway. I think that was always the plan. And I don't think it worked out how he expected it to be fair. So that's when Mickey Virtue went with him, the keyboard player, when he left in 2008, I think it was, or 2009. And then Astro, I don't think because they started doing some country music, reggae country, the original UB40, and Astro kind of just went, I can't be doing this, you know, I can't be doing country music.
Reggae country.
Do you know, that's
right.
That's interesting because there's some bands that do sort of country rap, bands like Cottonmouth, and I really like that stuff. But reggae country, I'm struggling with it a little bit to understand what
would you call it as a genre? Runtry? Runtry? Or
reggae.
I don't know what you call it.
I don't know.
Reggae tree.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But he wasn't happy. He really wasn't happy. So I think that's why. Well, I think what happened was it was a blessing for Astro because Ali gained new management, and they basically said, "Look, unless you get Astro back in the band, you're not really going to have a successful career apart from the original, away from the original lineup."
Right.
So I don't know if they fell out, but they just said, "We're gonna have to bite your tongue and just get on with it," you know. And I think they had a meeting and they made up. And then when Astro came back, they adopted the name again, UB40, featuring Ali and Astro and Mickey. But it started to improve then, and it went from smaller shows to theatres to then the bigger clubs and then into arenas and stadiums again, and it was rocking.
Good. Yeah. And there are a few different incarnations of UB40. Is that right? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. So that would be what I was talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's I mean, Mickey left in 2017, 18, I think, over financial differences again. There's a bit of a theme brewing here, isn't there?
A bit of a theme for music industry, yeah.
So he left, I think, 2018, and then it was, they knocked one of the letters off the end, so it was UB40 featuring Ali and Astro. And then Astro sadly died last year.
That's right, I remember.
So now it's just UB40 featuring Ali.
Okay.
So
Right. Okay.
I don't know who the UB40 is though, if it's featuring Ali, but you know, I think it's just the guys that are left.
Yeah. Well, there's quite a lot of that goes on, isn't there? There's loads of bands that were a unit and then split up, and suddenly you'll get so and so's The Sweet or so and so's, I don't know, whatever band it is.
Absolutely.
And, that you see a lot of that going on. And I suppose people want to hang on to the brand. I totally get that. You know, it's like, you know, the Rolling Stones will always fill out an arena, and the chances are Mick Jagger couldn't, you know, because it's not the brand. It's as bizarre as that sounds, it's the brand that's important. So, just moving forward, you've had an album out which is called Strong.
Yeah.
Is it called Strong or Strong?
Strong.
It is strong. Yeah.
It is strong.
It is strong.
It is strong.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's performed quite well and delivered you, what is it, 2 number ones or 3?
3 number ones now. Yeah.
Is it right? So,
and a number 2. Yeah.
Oh right. Well, it can't be right.
Wow. That sounded really bad, but yeah. I'm absolutely over the moon with it because I love the Heritage chart. I mean, I had from the start. My number 2 was Happy, which was off my album before.
Right.
And Mike Reed has always been absolutely delightful to me. You know what I mean?
Yes, he has to us. He's a good guy.
And he's a lovely guy, and he's just got a wealth of knowledge about music as well. I love talking to him. He's a wonderful man.
Yeah.
And he's always been throwing my tracks onto the Heritage chart, and you know, thank the Lord, they've always been tremendously successful. And when I actually look at the chart nowadays, I kind of miss the old days, you know, like Top of the Pops and everything, because you don't get that interaction with music anymore. It's just so throwaway now. It's horrible.
Yes, it is.
So I feel quite nostalgic when I look at some of the artists that are listed in the top 40 as well, you know, so to be among them, like yourselves included, chap.
That's that.
It's so cool.
It is. And I think it's an interesting chart because as I understand it, the Heritage chart is now compiled from like 84 countries. Is that right? Have I got that right?
I think it is, absolutely, yeah. Well, I know there's definitely one in Chicago because I know the guy who puts it out in Chicago, WSDI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So yeah, he reads it all. I think you can do it on Spotify. If you put the actual Heritage chart through Spotify, it picks up the countries that airs the show.
Oh, does it?
Okay. And I think you can do it with your own music as well. If you check on the listings, it will say what countries have played your music the most.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
One thing I was going to ask you, Matt, when you were a kid, why was it reggae? When you said you were working with other artists before the whole UB40 thing, so was that a reggae orientated thing or just anything that came up?
No, far from it. I'm actually a soul boy.
Are you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I grew up. I mean, I adore George Michael. R&B is my flavour. Reggae to me, when I was at school, there was only 2 artists I knew that were reggae, and that was Bob Marley and UB40. I hadn't got a clue. Right. I like reggae, you know what I mean? But it was only when I actually joined the band that I kind of got indoctrinated into all the different styles of reggae music, you know, like dancehall and lovers rock and all that kind of stuff. And it was like finding a new music, a new art form, do you know what I mean? And I kind of really took it on board. And James, who I work with, who I co-write with, he's phenomenal at both. So I like to fuse the R&B and the reggae together. And that's what I tried to do with my last album. Because I had some wonderful people perform on it. Because 2 of the tracks, Strong and what's the other one? We Are One. Oh God, there's I can't remember her name now. Her name escapes me, and that's really, really bad. Oh my God,
it's a saga moment.
It's a saga moment.
It really is. It really is. It's a fast approaching. Like
Don't worry, you can.
I can see the difference.
Yeah, mention it later when you think.
Patricia Lacey.
I was just about to say Patricia Lacey.
He's got his notes. Research.
I've got me notes. And I was going to
glad you were.
No, I've got.
She was backing singer with Luther Vandross, and I've got Walter Chancellor Jr. on there who plays sax with Prince, and there's some amazing people on there. You know, so blessed.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we find it very difficult to get anybody, don't we?
Well, to work on our stuff. Yeah. Well, we barely be bothered to do it ourselves.
Man, cool, very nice.
And we're back in the room.
Back. It's almost professional, mate.
Yeah.
So that was the first single to go number 1 off that album. Is that correct? Or not?
Yes. That was
okay. All right, cool. Very, very, very good. No, congratulations on that.
Yeah.
So
the Heritage chart is. I agree with you that the the fact that it's all so split up these days in terms of different charts and different, you lose that. Because I remember, and you will remember too, when you're a kid and you watch Top of the Pops and it's all in one place.
Yes.
It was it was quite exciting. And you just, you had the little arrows telling you who was going up the chart and who was going down the chart and all. It's exciting. And there is a sort of sense of loss, and I think a sense of disposability, as you said earlier, that and when you actually think the amount of effort that you put into what you do, and trying to get people to buy, say, a single for £4, and that they balk at it, and then they'll go and pay £6 for a cafe latte. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 99.
No, I agree.
It's weird.
I think what it is as well, it's very double-edged as well, because when it first started coming out with all the iPads or iPods, and you could walk around and have like thousands of tracks on one thing in your pocket. It was, for people who love music, that was amazing. But I think in the detriment to having that, though, is like, as musicians, I think we feel it more because it completely decrease the value of music and what you're putting out there, as Richard said. And it makes it less important, I think, as well, because when releases came out back in the day, it was an event, It was a real event. I mean, I remember when George Michael's older album came out in 1996, and nearly every HMV in the country was decked out with this image of half his face. And I was excited. It was like Christmas for me, waiting for that date to count down. Now it's like, when's his new album out? Next Thursday. Oh, brilliant! I might download that. It's just it's nothing. You know what I mean?
It completely is. I think the death of music retail is a real shame, because it was a physical experience as well. Buying your vinyl, going through all the things,
and it was also the artwork that you used to get with the stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Hypnosis and all that stuff, back
really
in the day.
Really
and in the town that we grew up in, they still had listening booths.
Yeah.
So you could actually go in. Do you remember? You could go in and sit down with your mates in this little booth and and choose the record.
I was really sad. I used to do all that. I used to go in and listen and everything on, because I used to love 12-inch records as well.
Oh yeah.
I used to get all the in sleeves, the paper in sleeves for that, and then the plastic covers for the outside. Oh God, I was a right anorak. I was terrible.
Me too. I used to love it. I used to love the gatefold, and looking who the engineer was, and
absolutely.
I really enjoyed all that stuff.
I even remember, was it Tango in the Night? Fleetwood Mac.
All right.
The cover of that album, it's a piece of art. It really is, and that's what I miss as well. The Michael Jackson double album, when you fold it out.
Yes, exactly. I think for a lot of the artists at the time, the graphic artists, who they must have seen a huge drop in work as well, because also everything's a bloody thumbnail. So you can go into unless you're working with a big artist who's going to have posters and some big coverage. But if you're looking at independent, so like a band like us, and possibly applies to you as well, that your people will see you on their phone, they'll see you on a screen. Your name will come up at festivals and stuff, but it's not the artwork, it's just a name.
Exactly.
And I think that's a huge loss. It's a real shame. Just to change the subject, wanted to touch on the fact with just going back to not so much UB40, but because you were quite outspoken from the off. Am I right in saying that, from sort of early 2020? That's right, isn't it? I got that right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, what was the reaction from, apart from putting what we know aside of UB40? What was the reaction from friends, family, other musicians? Partners. Partners? Were they like, that's your opinion, that's cool, mate? Or were they were they aggressive? What did you experience?
Initially, I found that 95% of the people that I knew were, I mean, I hate to use the terminology, but it's just easy and it cuts to the point. You're either a sheep or you're a tinfoil hat. So 95 of the people were sheep, and I found about maybe 2, 3, 4 people on Facebook. Twitter for me was a different experience, because it was full of people I didn't know, so I didn't really care what people thought. So I just put out my own opinions and choices, what I choose to put out. I found the thing for me is, when this first started, I had a relatively easy indoctrination into it, because I call it my Starbucks moment. And it was, I mean, I'll be honest with you, when it very, very first kicked off, I did wear a mask, right? Okay. Because it was just an onslaught on the news. So I thought, well, there's got to be something in this. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely right. Yeah.
I wore the mask, and we were in Starbucks, and we were queuing, and I was with my other half, and we got a coffee. We sat down and we took the mask off to have a coffee. We had the coffee. We had about 40, 50 minutes to spare. So I just said, do you fancy another quick coffee before we leave? So yeah, that's fine. So I stood up to go and order another one. And she went, oh, you got to put your mask back on. I mean, what for? She went, if you go to the counter, you got to put your mask back on. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Come on.
And that was it. From that point,
Yeah.
I never wore a mask. I never did any. It just all went out the window. The logic of all of it just went, forget it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yes.
The thing that, and I'm sure it was the same for you, the thing that drove me mad was the lack of thinking that most people applied. Independent, logical thinking. It stopped. It just completely stopped. As you say,
Absolutely.
so you'll see people walk into a restaurant with a mask on, sit down, take it off, have their meal, get up, put the mask on to go to the toilet, come back, take the mask off, sit down.
Yeah.
It's just, do you know what I mean? You only have to think to yourself, am I losing my mind? Is this logical? I'm a grown person.
Well, the one that done it for me was the, I don't know if you saw the cash machines, the ATM machines.
Right, yes.
And there was two side by side. And as you queued, you had to stand 2 meters behind the person in front. But you were literally like right next to the person stood in the other line to the other ATM machine. It was ludicrous,
Absolutely, yeah. There's a local restaurant we go to, and they've got outside seating, and they've got those sort of doors that fold out, if you know, whatever they're called. And there was a woman. Yeah. She had booked the window table.
Bifolding doors.
Bifolding doors, exactly. Thank you for that, young man. Yeah. And so she puts her mask on, walks inside and sits down. I mean, we're talking 2 feet, and then takes her mask off. I'm sorry. You've run out. I mean, if she was walking, it's ludicrous. I think they're ridiculous anyway. The data says they don't work, and there's lots of stuff to support that now. But anyway, putting that aside, if she'd been sitting right at the back of the restaurant, I could have got that logic. Okay, you think you're in danger, you think you're vulnerable walking through this restaurant, you want to put your mask on, go for it. But the table was by the window, and I just sat there looking at her thinking, did you not think that through? Did you not, But and I think it's the same with your Starbucks moment. It's the same thing. Suddenly just goes, no. This is bollocks.
Yeah. There's a shop, the local shop, and they had all the things on the floor, little arrows and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then when everybody began to realize that the whole thing was a bit of a joke, they took all these stickers off the floor. And I was talking to Alan, who runs the shop, and he said that a lady came in, and she was just standing. She came into the shop and just stood there. Right? And, he said, "Can I help you?" And she said, "I wasn't sure which way to go."
Oh God!
Fortunately, he said, "I think you should go out."
Turn around and go that way.
You face the wrong way, love. Yeah, absolutely.
I tell you, one I did see was somebody was in. We were in a pub, and this woman, she had a mask on in the pub, sitting down the whole thing. And she got up to go outside to have a cigarette. And she went outside and lifted the mask up to put the cigarette in to light it, took a drag, put the mask, and she blew out with the mask. And all the came out the side. And then she lifted it up again to have another drag. It was hilarious. But I think what you find is there's 2 types of people in life. And there's the ones that are intellectually on paper are very intellectual.
Yes.
And then you've got the other people that have just got common sense.
Yes, exactly right.
And the two generally are 2 different things, Yes,
they are completely.
Because I wouldn't say I'm intellectual on paper at all, far from it. But it's just your gut instinct, and you kind of see something and go, "Come on."
Absolutely right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just going back with your the people that you didn't get much support from. What's your position now? Those people who are critical of you, are you sort of from the opinion, well, it's bygones be bygones, let's all kiss and make up?
Or do you want to kill them?
Or do you want to kill them? And
no, it's really. I think what you find is the people that stood those 4 people that stood by me in the beginning.
Yes.
They're the ones now, after I've kind of doing what I'm doing with the band and everything and coming out and talking about it, they're, still backing me 100%.
Right.
I think as time has gone on, the people that didn't comment, but I knew were reading my posts, I feel they struggle to admit that they were wrong in a sense.
Yes.
And I don't think they ever will, because their pride is too strong with all this. I don't think they'll ever admit it.
Yeah, I agree.
But I feel... it's weird. I feel through social media that I know they know, and you can kind of see their
there's a lot
way
of
of talking and pattern of thinking changing slightly because they go, oh, actually, yeah, you might have been right, but I'm not going to admit it to you because
that's right.
You know,
Yeah,
so, that's how I feel about it. At the minute.
Right, okay, yeah.
It's like the old Mark Twain thing. It's easier to fool people than convince them they've been fooled.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's absolutely true.
Okay, so we're going to play Malibu. A
Okay.
little clip from that, which is, for those who don't know, check it out. It's #1 on the Heritage chart. It's still #1, isn't it?
Well, I presume so until he gets knocked off tomorrow. Who knows? But yeah, he's still there now.
Yeah,
still there now.
That's all that matters, mate. It's
a
now that matters.
It's a numbers
It's
game,
the
mate.
now, the here and now. Yeah.
Here and now, mate. Here we go. This is Matt Hoy with Malibu.
Tokyo to Malibu, from Hollywood to Peru, I would go anywhere with you. In the sun or in the rain, I would never dare complain, 'cause I would go anywhere with you. Every day is magical when you are by my side. Everything feels easier.
Malibu. Matt
Cool,
Hoy.
man. Cool.
Congratulations, mate.
Yeah,
on that.
absolutely. Well
Thank
done.
you.
What's
mate.
your,
Thank you.
as an artist, what's your view with videos now? When you do a song and you're going to make a video, because they can get really expensive, or you can, pull favors and stuff. And one thing I've noticed is I look online, and quite often, just lyric videos have just got the lyrics going, get as many hits as something that's animated or clearly costs a lot of money. What's your approach to those? What do you think?
I completely agree. And that video for Malibu, my daughter Eve actually produced. She's phenomenal. She did the whole thing. Yeah, she's amazing. I kind of give her the synopsis of what I wanted to see in the video, and she just does it. She's amazing. I did a Christmas song, and she did that as well. But yeah, I agree. I mean, that video she finds copyright-free videos.
Yes,
they're easy to get. You download them on the internet, and she just researches and searches for all these different images that will fit the lyric of the song.
Oh, really?
But I did a video with all the bells and whistles for Happy. And it was an event. Do you know what I mean? It goes on forever. You know what I mean? It's like, can you do another take? And can we go out there? And the whole day was just taken up with me smiling at the camera and just getting really
bad
pissed off in the end. But Eve did that in 2 days on the laptop on her own.
That's amazing. Because I'm so green. The scene with when they're on the bike, in the video, and she's got her arms up.
When she puts her arms out,
yeah. So what I'm thinking is there's a huge truck behind them.
Steady cams,
drones. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking, how the fuck did he afford that?
First position.
Well, there probably was. I just didn't have to pay for it.
Exactly right. Bloody,
and it's so easy to do.
That's a good. I'd never thought about that.
Have you found through speaking out? And I hate some of these expressions like speaking out and truth and movement and all this. It really does made it, but it's hard it's hard to know what other words to say. But did you find with speaking out, you also attracted people that are happy to work with you, support you because. And you hadn't known them before, so they may. Well, just as an example, we're getting people who are fans now of what we do. Not always based on, not driven by my music. It's driven by how we've been online, and then they listen to a track and they said, "Actually, I quite like that." And one is attracting the other. Are you getting that?
Most definitely, yeah. Absolutely. I think it's because people take the time. If they're invested in you as a person and what your opinions are and what your politics are, they research what your musical background is. And that's what I found anyway. And the conversations with people I wouldn't have dreamed of speaking to 2 years ago, they're filling up my Twitter feeds and stuff like that now, and really supportive.
I think it's sort of like joining the army or the forces. Because you meet,
it's like a club. It really is.
You meet people that you would never normally meet or talk to. I just want to read something out. There's a response to connect with all this, with your situation with UB40. And this was a response, I assume, from the management or somebody. And this is a quote. It says, "This has been a very hard pandemic for the world and our industry to navigate, and livelihoods still remain in the balance for many. Blah 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 blah." And then they say. the vaccine, they talk about, they believe in freedom of choice, and then there's a but.
But yeah,
yes,
But we don't.
there's always a big but.
There's a big but, you know, and I kind of, and that's what we seem to have lived through is this really odd place where artists that you think you understood and knew, you don't know them at all.
No, not at all.
I suddenly realized I've listened to Paul McCartney all my life, and now I realize I have no idea. One, I don't like him, and I couldn't listen to his records anymore. And his more.
Yeah. Say what you mean.
Well, once I saw him waving that ridiculous flag at Glastonbury and going on about the jab, I just thought, mate, it's over for me, you know. And that's been a real learning curve, I think. And I've emailed the MU about this, the demonstrations and stuff, why they weren't there for all the musicians and players and dancers and everything, whatever.
MU, musically useless. Yeah.
Musically useless. And they came back and they said, we're working behind the scenes. Yeah, right.
What's that even mean?
It means that they're not,
there's a curtain there, and they're kind of, is it over yet?
It's over yet. Don't go out there. It's scary.
Can we go back to giving crap advice?
Exactly. Can we go back to getting our expenses?
Completely agree. And you know, coming from the background of UB40, I mean, with their management, I haven't really got any issues with Trinifold management. You know, they just put out there what Ali Campbell tells them to put out there. I'm not going to shoot the middleman at all.
Okay.
But you would think from back in the 80s, well, late 70s, early 80s, what UB40 actually stood for and represented being left wing. You know what I mean?
It's very much so. Yeah.
It's funny to see how over the years they've kind of run up to that fence and literally hurdled over to the other side. You know, it's insane. So
we've seen that with Rage Against the Machine. I think it's weird how quiet the Gallagher brothers have been. You know, the people that you're used to sort of mouthing off about something seem to have gone incredibly mute, or seem to follow the government narrative, which I suppose is their choice. They're allowed to do that. But it's a lot of it completely is the hypocrisy, but is amazing, particularly with Rage Against the Machine. The clue is in the title of the band. Yeah, Rage Against the Machine, and what they've done is just to comply with the machine. It's
apparently, I think they're changing their name to Slightly Niggled About the Machine.
Just slightly peeved.
Slightly peeved.
I think what it is, I think going back in the day, it was like all those bands, you know, like UB40, the Sex Pistols, and all that kind of stuff that stood up against the Institute, as you call it. There aren't any out there anymore, and like you said, you can count on one hand artists that have actually stood against this, and they're really not the artists you would have thought. I mean, like yourselves, a pop band. Like me, you know, a smooth lovers rock reggae singer, Jim Core from the Cores. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
These people are not the people you expect to see at the front of a riot and going, right, let's have it. You know, it's insane. You know, but it just shows people's true colours. It really does.
It does. Yeah,
and
it does.
It also, I think it's shown the emptiness of a lot of modern pop. So if you go back into the 60s, you would have Bob Dylan and Joan Baez and Country Joe and the Fish all talking about Vietnam or race riots or one or the other. And the pop culture was right at the front of commenting on that moment. And now, I mean, you mentioned George Michael. He was one of the only artists that made a single about the war in Iraq.
That's right.
Yes.
Wasn't it? Yeah. You know,
absolutely did. Yeah.
It's pop has just become. There's a film many years ago, and pop. What happened was it's set in the future, and in the future, people only listen to the music in the adverts. And pop music is the stuff between. It's the stuff that nobody listens to, and in a way, that's
Total Recall.
It's not Total Recall.
Okay.
Oh, you're thinking of Demolition Man.
Yes, I think I am. I think yes.
Yeah, they're talking about it in the car.
Yes.
It's Demolition Man with Sandra Bullock.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's a real shame, I think, and it's. I mean, also you get the Stones not playing Brown Sugar because it's got a thing about slavery, and you get Paul McCartney not playing Back in the USSR because because of Ukraine. It's these people are so pathetic, and also I don't know what you feel, but I think these are works of art. They deserve to be heard.
Yeah.
You know, the song Back in the USSR. It doesn't have a mind of its own. It's just a song. So play the bloody thing, you idiot. You know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the thing is, with me, I don't look at UB40 in the same way anymore, but it would never stop me from listening to the music because I enjoyed the music when I was young, and the music isn't the person.
Exactly.
Fortunately.
No, I think it's important to remember that.
Yeah,
actually,
exactly.
yeah. No, I agree. There's quite a few artists like that.
Well, it's a good job, really, isn't it? I swear to God, because we've got about 99% of the music in the world just eradicated for us, lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, we would.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and also some of the position that artists have. I'm sure you've experienced the same thing. Musicians I've known for years. Not only have they kind of turned their backs, but there's not even sort of. I don't even get a text message when we were getting hammered in the press. And I'm sure you've had the same thing. Not even a text message. I hope you guys are okay, or anything. And it's just been this tumbleweed going across
I agree. The odd conversation I received about anything, talking about work or carrying on with work, was the response I was dealt with was, well, it's work. We've just got to do this for work. Otherwise we're not going to be able to get back out. This is what we do, man. We've got to get out there and start working again. So if you've got to have a jab just to get out there and do it, then let's do it. And I'm like, oh my God,
I know.
People?
Yeah,
and that was what I was faced with most of the time.
Precisely.
And a lot of people, it was no jab, no job. It was
that is
extraordinary. If you actually cast your mind back, I think it was in Czechoslovakia. They gave you, if you had the jab, they would give you 30 minutes with your favourite prostitute.
That's right. Yeah.
So why are we living here?
And who is your favourite
prostitute?
See, the English government can learn a lot from Czechoslovakia.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they really need to step it up. Imagine that. Your favourite lap dancer. And you're going through your book. I'm going to go to see Amber.
But can you imagine being in the boardroom in the Czechoslovakian government office? So, what can we do to entice these people to go? I know,
hookers.
Is always the answer.
Exactly.
It's not. It's got to be drugs. It's got to be one or the other. Bloody hell.
Matt, do you have a 5-year plan in your head as to where you want to take things?
God no.
How do you work? How do you visualize it? How do you
I don't really know. I don't think it's all going to plan. None of it's going to plan as they wanted it to. I think from me losing my career that way financially and really struggling financially because of the loss of it, I don't think I can look that far ahead now. I kind of have to put wheels into motion as to survive in the moment. And then once this is clear, because I don't think it's over by any means.
No,
nor do we. There's going to be surprises coming here and there.
We agree.
I think we're just going to have to live for the moment and kind of financially get through this situation until I can look to the future. Obviously I've got things I want to do. I want to get back out there and start touring and playing and putting new music out there. But I think it's very hard to do that when you've still kind of got two sets of people's opinions about what's happening at the minute. And obviously the narrative changes every 5 minutes. Once it's like Omicron, then it's Ukraine, now it's the Queen dying, now it's the, you don't know where you are with things. You don't know your own, so you just got to keep up with it and hope for the best.
Exactly. I think that uncertainty is intentional, in my opinion. So I don't think they want that feeling of being unsettled because that keeps people vulnerable and they can and also pliable. So and there seems to be an attack across, places of worship were shut and events were shut and gyms were closed, but fast food was allowed to stay open. Hospitality was attacked and is still under attack. And hospitality obviously affects what we do because that pubs or right across the board, those are events that require hospitality. So those are also under attack.
One thing, Matt, I was going to ask you: how did you feel, aside from the money thing, which obviously has a huge impact on your mental state of mind and all that kind of stuff, but just the absence of performing to people, the absence of that connection, because I think it's one of those things that in the first 6 months or a year when everything was suspended, I didn't really clock it, that it was important. And then I suddenly thought, I've been doing this since 1978 and suddenly it's gone. And so I wonder how with you, to what extent it really, has it bothered you that lack of standing on stage and actually, aside from the money, I'm not talking about money now, but the spiritual, whatever you want to call it. Interaction.
Connection.
What did you
think? I completely and utterly agree. I mean, you guys will both know when you go on tour for like 2 or 3 months, when you come back, in a sense, you kind of go into your own little lockdown because you've spent so long on the road. You kind of just want to hibernate in your own surroundings for a while. I think for me, it was once I got past that point of where I call it the recovery period and getting back to normal again. I was still locked down and I thought, well, this isn't right. This feels really, really strange. And like you said, the interaction, I didn't realise how much I would miss it because, you know, we do shows. Once you're on that stage could be anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter. It's that kind of, it's like your living room. You kind of, it's all set out the same, so it could be anywhere. Exactly. I really missed that and seeing people's faces. So what I did was I just wrote music just to keep the cogs turning and keep them lubricated. I just something artistic that I could do. Music that I could do at home where I wasn't going to get interrupted. That's what got me through the album, really, writing that and keeping moving.
I think that sense of creativity really important when your back's against the wall.
Also, is there a part of you that only comes out on stage, if you like, if you know what I mean? It's like do you know what I mean? Yes. So there's Matt Hoy now, and then there's Matt Hoy on stage. If that's the case, then the Matt Hoy on stage hasn't been given an airing for 2 years.
Yes,
that's true. I mean,
it's like getting an old blanket out, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
No,
I think that could be. I can think that can be quite, psychologically quite weird.
I think it's been really tough for lots of people.
Yeah,
lots of people.
And some artists, I think they only know who they are when they're on stage.
Yeah.
When they.
Well, I think when you're on stage doing your performance, that to me sometimes is your true self, because you can kind of just let go because you're expected to let go and be yourself.
Exactly.
But it's definitely a Jekyll and Hyde thing, being Matt Hoy and then Matt Hoy on stage. Because when I was a child, and still to this point, I was painfully shy. Right. So to get ahead and do music that I wanted to do, I had to kind of face it head on. And because if you want to do this, you've got to get rid of the shyness thing, otherwise it's never going to work. Yeah. So I actually remember being doing a pub gig and thinking, well, it's now or never. Because I just let go and lost it, and everybody was like, fucking hell, what happened to you tonight? And it worked. The crowd loved it, and I thought, well, this is what I've got to do, And I loved being with Ali, and that was the whole point when we did arenas and stadiums, and that I was kind of not the warm up, but I kind of went around the stage and got them cheering and clapping and doing all that. And I did miss that, like you said, Rich. It's something that you need in your soul.
I agree. I mean, it was that interaction with people that was taken away, and not just for performers,
for the audiences as well,
for the audience, and for all sorts of ordinary people. Not ordinary people, but in normal working relationships, you couldn't go to work, you couldn't go to the pub, you couldn't go to the church. It was robbing people of. Particularly, I thought the church particularly was incredibly weak. I thought the whole, if you go back several hundred years, people were getting burned at the stake for what they believed. And now the church just shuts the door when government tells them.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
And particularly the elderly, they really need that sense, that being able to talk and being able and seeing their neighbours.
I don't think it's just the elderly. I mean, I think crew. I think my heart went out to crew members. Sound guys, lighting guys who have been doing that stuff, been on the road, they've been doing that stuff forever. They don't get the limelight. They generally don't get the appreciation they deserve. And suddenly they're out the mix. Yeah. And so people like us get a chance to. We're approached by media or whatever, and so you can discuss it like we are now. But a lighting guy, a tour manager, who's reaching out to those people?
Exactly.
And I really felt I really felt for those guys, because even musicians get the chance of exercising that their demon, if you like, on stage. But the unsung heroes, you can't do. It's a team effort. You can't do a gig without all these people in place. Yeah. And I really felt for them. There was no one really voicing, supporting them or even considering them.
That the overall thing, I mean, the main thing, the first thing they shut down was pubs. And the thing is with pubs, they're communal, and that's where people get together, because human beings are kind of like pack animals anymore. We need that interaction. We need that contact, And also, I think one of the main reasons they shut pubs down is because when people sit down and start having a drink, what do you do in pubs? You talk and you converse about what's going on, and that's what 100%. They completely prevent. 100%.
Yeah. Also, the other point that I had never thought of. I read Naomi Wolf's book, "The Bodies of Others," and one thing she said, which is really true, which is big tech has no investment in people talking face to face.
That's true,
because they can't monetize it. So they want to drive everybody onto Zoom, onto the internet, onto Facebook. Because that's where they make money. Yeah. The last thing they want is everybody just being human beings and talking to each other.
Absolutely.
And I'd never really thought about that.
Yeah. So Matt, how do people? What's the best way for people to follow you and get information? I did put up your. Where is it? Let's see if I can be professional for a second here.
Watch out! Yeah, drum roll.
Hang about.
Here all week. Oh, come on. Come on.
Marvellous. I never doubted you. I never doubted you.
That Joe Rogan knows nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Bloody amateur.
Yeah.
So
watch it and weep, Joe.
Yeah. Read it and weep, Joe.
Read it and weep.
So what, apart from your official site, where else are you?
Yes, so like you said, the official site is on all of them, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and then obviously the Getter, the wonderful Getter. But I've got 3 numbers after. I think it's 330 or 3311 on Getter. And then there's my official website, which is matthoyofficial.co.uk. So all the stuff on there, all the stuff that I'm doing currently as well, the media stuff, that's all going to be on there.
Great, excellent. All right, Matt. Good stuff. All right. Well, I really appreciate you being our guinea pig.
I appreciate being the first. It's very kind of you, gentlemen.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. It's been lovely speaking to you. Yeah. And please check out Matt Hoy on Spotify. And congratulations once again on your 3rd number 1 on Heritage Chart.
Yeah,
still there at the minute.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You're having it, mate. You're having it large. Absolutely. All right, brilliant. Thanks again. Guys. Lots of love, man. I really appreciate your help with this. Thanks, all the best. Love to see you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye, mate.